everybody. Welcome back. We are really excited to be with you, Tim Philpott and I, as we talk about things from the very first week in Genesis 1. It's a little confusing because we're on our fourth video, but we're only on the third day of creation because we talked about the Creator to start. But in the third day of creation, there's a lot that happens. God separates the oceans from the land, from the continents, and then he also begins the work of vegetation growing. So I want to talk about some of the landforms and the vegetational forms that you find on a golf course. Tim, there are a lot of obstacles that can get in our way on a golf course. There's rough and there's sand and there's water and there's weeds and there's rocks. There's all these things. Which one do you hate the most?
I hate white OB stakes. To me, they just mar the whole appearance of golf. I enjoy water, rocks. I love the drone shots a few weeks ago at Pebble Beach of the 8th and the 9th and the 10th holes.
Oh yeah,
with the ocean and the beach and the rocks and you feel like if you fell down, you would probably kill yourself, which you could. A good place to commit suicide, I suppose. I love it all. And of course, you got to remember that that's what makes a great golf course.
Yeah.
I used to speak on this quite a bit, that a lot of people think their life should be simple and with no problems. And what could be worse than a golf course where every par 4 was 330, every par 3 was 140, the greens were huge, every green was flat, no bunkers, no out of bounds, no problems anywhere. You would walk away going, that's a terrible golf course.
Yeah.
And yet many people think their life is good because that's the way their life is. Everything is sort of easy. But the truth is, a great life God's going to give you some great obstacles to overcome. And so I love them all other than the OB stakes.
So the OB stakes, they probably take you back to what you don't like about some golf courses, and that's the houses, right?
Yeah, the houses too. Yeah,
you got to have the OB to protect the houses. Otherwise, you could just play wide open. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, they had that. In fact, they had that funny deal on the tour this year where they had to put OB stakes in suddenly between 2 holes because guys were taking a shortcut since there were no crowds. Yeah. Very interesting. Well, in the third day of creation, we see that God did this thing where he set this vegetation to work. And, I've heard the definition of a weed is just a plant that you don't want where it has decided to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bermuda is not a weed unless it's growing in the middle of a bent grass green, for instance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. And so some plants are fine over here, but not over there. Jesus tells a parable about the wheat and the weeds. And obviously, if you're a farmer, you don't want renegade crops growing up among the things that you're trying to harvest eventually. And yet, Jesus told a lot of parables about agriculture and vegetation, the very things that he had designed. And in this one, he talks about how a lot of times we get, like the farmer, we get all, do I pull the weeds and when do I pull them and will I damage the weed and all that stuff? And he basically says, why don't you leave that to me?
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Well, in California, you have Poa annua greens. And in Kentucky, all over the rest of the country, Poa annua is a weed. It is a weed, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And they do, golf course superintendents do everything they can to try to get rid of the Poa annua. And if you can't get rid of it, you just mow it down real close and turn it into perfect Poa annua if you can. And a lot of major golf championships have been played on perfect Poa annua. So, the good and the bad, they have learned to live together in close proximity in many ways. And, I have to say that I've learned some great things from people that don't claim to be Christians even.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will never forget my one, it's a longer story than we have for today, but my one time I really got to meet Arnold Palmer, which was about a year or two before he passed away. I've never heard Arnie claim to have any close relationship with God.
Right.
I keep hoping, for him. But man, he taught me how to treat people. He was just so nice. And everybody has that same story. And so we have to be very careful about how we judge people. I had a very, very dear friend many years ago who left his wife, left his family, left everything. And I started, and I became judgmental about this person. And when one day the Lord said, "Hey, wait a minute, Phil, how many sins do you actually know this guy's committed?" And I think I got to 3. And he said, "Well, how many have you committed like this week today?" And I got to 3 so fast, of course. So never forget, the worst sinner is me. If there's a weed here,
You're the
it could be
weed.
me. I'm not the perfect bent grass. I may be the poana in this whole deal. And so we've got to remember that good and bad really are closer together than we ever want to know.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of anything better when we look at creation and how awesome God was in that work than to let him be the one to really sort these things out.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
we need to speak truth into each other's lives, but we also have to step back and, like you said, and recognize humbly who we are
Yes.
and that God's still working in us too.
Amen.
Well, thanks, Tim. And thank you to you all for being with us. And we'll see you a week from now.